go. That's fine. That's fine. I'll try to fix it, but here we go. Alright, interest money. Three, two, one.
And welcome back to another TROM-Cast. We took a month off, but now we are back with lots of people.
Yay!
Finally. And today we are going to discuss about planned obsolescence, and we really have a lot of people here. And if you want to participate, I'll post now the link to the website, tromsite.com/live. Give me a few seconds. Anyone can participate. Let me see which. Here you can click the link, you can participate via GT. Participate here. And password is already chose the password, so whoever wants. Okay. Okay, so we are done now. And yep. Let's start. We released a new video book. It took a while to release this video book because video books it's a lot harder to make them. They are like short documentaries. Some can be big documentaries, like an hour or 2 hours. Some could be like, maybe they could be like 7, 8 hours if we make from a book like The Origin of Most Problems or AA World or something like that. But Sebi is doing that. He takes books, TROM books, and makes videos out of them. And we just released a video book, Planned Obsolescence. And yeah, let's discuss the topic because it seems like a very interesting topic. So whoever wants to just jump in and just say a few things about planned obsolescence, what do you think about it? And before we do that, let me remind everybody that we take a subject for TROM-Cast, we discuss this main subject, and at the end of TROM-Cast, we are going to we go through some news from TROM curated news and discuss those news as well, and maybe recommend documentary and so forth. So yeah, what do you guys think about planned obsolescence? I think a lot about it.
Yeah, it's pretty off.
Everybody agree.
It's stupid.
Stupid, sorry, but what is it? Because some people will ask you, like, what do you mean by planned obsolescence? Are like companies so evil that they want to produce stuff that breaks down a certain amount after some time? And isn't this a conspiracy?
Who are you asking?
You?
Oh. Well, it's quite obvious. I think there was also like in the book, there was this example of General Motors versus Ford, and that shows pretty well like it's just a part of the game in a way that if you don't do it, then you can't keep up, and then everyone has to do it, otherwise they'll go bankrupt or not sell as much. So yeah.
Yeah, I cannot hear Sasha very well.
I also can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear you like at all.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, cannot hear you. No, so you guys can continue because I will fix something here.
Okay, I can continue. I mean, the thing is, if a company produces something and it won't break, then that's a problem because the company needs more money in order to survive in this trade game. So if it produces goods and services which don't break, it's fucked basically. Because as stated in the video book or in the book, a company did that. They produced tanks like arms for the army, and they didn't break actually. And when they wanted to sell more, the people didn't want to anymore because the old ones still lasted. So yeah, that's a huge problem because it means if you produce something, you think about maybe how can I break it in order to people throw it away and buy new things to keep the cycle of consumption going.
Completely. The incentives are designed, or the structure pushes the companies and businesses or whoever designs any product or good to want other people to keep consuming it. Otherwise, it makes no sense in the system, as that's the main motivation for most companies, is to either make more profit and compete with other companies and so forth. So it's very, very tricky for anything to be designed, or any company to be really out or doing things for the good of people. They're just doing it for the good of themselves, which is the bottom line.
A good example is printers. Do you know? Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Like they build it, and after I don't know 1 year or 2 years, electronic thing gets too hot, so it breaks, and then people need to buy another printer.
Yeah.
I think if you watch the documentary, The Light Bulb Conspiracy, they show you that there is a chip in these printers that keeps a count of how many papers it prints, and it's set to malfunction after a certain amount. Now that is very intentional planned obsolescence. That is basically the definition of planned obsolescence. That it must fail. It's not so much that these things are poorly designed. It's like the design intent is to have it show you a failure after a preset amount, a preset amount of function. Now that I don't necessarily see that as evil. It's just like what Seb was saying. It's just the profit motive.
Yeah.
It just the system forces these companies, the game that they all play. It forces these companies to exhibit these kind of behaviors because the name of the game is to get ahead, to keep that revenue rolling in. If you look at it, prior to the 1920s, anything made in the earlier bit of the industrial revolution or the pre-industrial revolution, some of that was especially to take repairs. If you look at hammers or axes, or if you even look at pens, with fountain pens, you'd have to change the nib. These things were designed so that you could repair them because this was essential. When people bought something at that time, they wanted it to last generations. To go from that to something which only where profit is the sole motive, obviously people are going to plan obsolescence into their products. It's common sense.
Yeah.
It's hypocritical because if you look at it, even if you subscribe to the market philosophy, if you believe that yes, markets are the best way to go about, a market has two components, buyers and sellers. This planned obsolescence is very biased towards the seller. It's not fair in any sense of the term. It's absurd.
Someone has a bit of background noise, I think.
Is that me?
I have no idea.
No.
But I think it's very interesting because I think companies nowadays might not even need that much planned obsolescence, because the perceived obsolescence, like changing the style and the fashion and stuff like that, might be enough for consumers to keep spending. For many products, it's like, oh, a new phone is coming out. Their old phone is not broken, but they're going to buy the new one anyways. So the whole advertising and, just consumption-based mindset of people is kind of enough for companies to keep the cycle going.
And have you
agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that most companies do both. Like an iPhone, like of course they're putting like advertisement out there. They make people feel like what they have is not enough, or is not good enough, or like beautiful enough, or whatever it is. But I like also with the software updates and stuff, they're also making it like not function. So I think most companies and with most products, it's both.
Yeah, and now that you have like this wave of people that are used to buying more products, used to buying more and more things, used to being consumers, it's kind of easier for them to have this perceived obsolescence as well.
Sasha, your mic is a bit loud, I think.
Still not working?
No,
No,
it's
you're
working.
working
No,
very
It's
good.
great,
I
it's
have it
great.
turned down on my end. I just have
Just
her like halfway.
Is it too loud now? Huh?
Yeah.
Like this? Like this? Okay. Because now I'm used to putting it in my mouth.
No,
That's better.
yeah, no, but it's loud. I think the volume is from the other headphones, so
Oh, it's too loud?
yeah, it's a bit loud.
Okay, sorry guys.
All good.
I was thinking that if if companies who produce electricities would sell light bulbs, I think you will see that they will last a lot longer because their interest will be to just sell electricity. It's almost like in back in the old days, people who are selling the phone, the phone companies who are selling the subscription for your phone. They will provide you the phone. Same with the internet companies that provide you the router, and you have to pay for it. They will make the router or they will make the phone very resilient because they are not that incentivized to make you replace it because they have to replace it. So if electricity companies will have to replace the light bulbs, they will produce better and better light bulbs. You see, so it's a problem of incentives here. If people sell light bulbs, of course they want to for you to buy even more light bulbs. It's not like they cannot do such things to last longer. They can very well. I remember back in the days, that old phone that we are using at home, and it was paid by the phone company. It was so resilient that me and my sister were fighting with it, and we were like using it as a weapon. But it never broke down. Like just worked so well. Same here with the internet. The router that they give me, it never broke down. I never had problems with it. So I think it's an incentive here. It's an incentive problem. If they will sell routers, internet routers, you'll see that they won't last for long. And with phones, I see it this planned obsolescence in the fact that they make these shiny phones. They are so shiny when you see them in like showrooms and so forth. And after you buy the phone, of course it will be like full of fingerprints, and you look like quite oldish, and it's not shiny anymore. It's almost like you make a car made out of glass, and it looks great in showrooms, but when you get it, you will get dirty so quickly. So I feel like this is also a bit of a part of like, look at this shiny thing, and you will get very, very bad and very, very out of fashion and dirty and so forth in just a few days, weeks of use. So there are lots of methods here.
It's an interesting topic about phones because not long ago, Motorola came out with this shatters-proof display. I think here in India, they sold it as the Moto X Force. I think in different countries, it's called different things. So I got one of those phones. And I think it's, I don't know, it was an expensive phone for me to buy. And my fun thing to do with it was I used to drop it all the time for my friends to show them that, look, I can do this with my phone, but you can't do that with your phone. Right? And I could drop it from like a meter high, meter 50, and literally no scratches, nothing. The screen would hold up to all of that. It saw me through for 2 years. In fact, what broke in that phone was something inside because I kept dropping it so much because I was being a show-off.
Yeah, they'll still make something that breaks in the phone.
Yeah, and it's surprising.
It's a good feature. Yeah.
I mean, it's a feature that could have been standardized. I understand that screen is a polycarbonate screen of some kind that scratches very easily. Your phone looks shitty after some time. If people can really figure out what your password is, if you're constantly using your screen lock, but that display doesn't shatter, and that's a very good piece of technology. Imagine the engineers who came up with that, and now nobody is selling that anymore. Even Motorola is not going to sell that anymore, I think. It's such a shame. For me, I dropped my phone not only to show off. I mean, like, I'm very clumsy. It's the phone I need to have.
But think about, even if that phone will be sold today, it's so resilient. Okay, but you are not going to get the new updates. So you will be forced, even if that phone is perfectly fine, it's so resilient. If you don't get the updates, the Android updates or iOS updates, and it becomes slower or it becomes unable to install the new apps because you didn't get the updates, then it's also a planned obsolescence through software, and it's easier to do. Because my sister had like this great metal built tablet, very, very resilient. It was called Transformer TF 101 or something like that. So resilient, so like no scratch, nothing like that. And after 2 years, they start providing updates, and that tablet died basically because you couldn't update and you couldn't install anything. You try to install an app, they will say, okay, your system is too old for this app. You're not allowed to install from App Store. So it just died. It completely died. You have to just throw it away. I tried to install Linux. I couldn't make anything out of it. So it was very resilient. It was very well built. No updates. Bad.
Yeah, that's actually a good point with the software, because you never know if a company does planned obsolescence, because they might say, okay, we reduce the CPU usage in order to for the battery, for like because the phone gets older, so that you can use your phone longer. But in fact, they reduce it to like, yeah, make it slower for you, that you have to buy a new one if you want to have a fast phone. So yeah, you never know if a company does it, but they can say anything. You never know it.
But the thing is, all companies.
Sasha, your mic now is extremely loud.
It's not right now.
I hear you from the other.
Like this, can you hear me?
Still
No?
for me, so what?
Quiet.
Okay,
Just for the
this
on the
TROM-Cast.
setting. Just for the settings, just put it a bit higher from the settings.
And everyone's video is frozen for me. Is that not the case?
Yeah,
for you
no,
guys?
everyone else is good.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's better than how we started. Now I can see all of you guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, but just make the volume a bit higher. And that should be it. It's either too low or too high.
Yeah, I have another example. My MacBook, I bought it 2012, so 7 years ago, and I used Mac OS in the beginning, of course, but now I have TROM-Jaro installed and it runs smoothly, it runs perfectly. But I don't know if I would have still Mac OS, if it would be slower, if it would
Yeah.
break down, or I don't know if I could use it anymore. I don't know.
Can you guys hear me now?
I think it's
Yeah,
much
I think
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that better?
you might find
Okay.
the sweet spot.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, the thing is that they all do use almost every company does use planned obsolescence because they have to, because they're forced in the system. I mean, if you need constant growth, if you need to constantly sell stuff, you can't make long-lasting products. I don't know if you guys said this already when I was like trying to fix my speakers, but that's the thing. I mean, you have to play this game if you want to make a profit, and when the goal is to make a profit, that's what you're going to do. So, in one way or another, almost every company does do this.
Yeah,
So
definitely. You cannot stay.
whether it's actually technologically engineered or it's like perceived obsolescence, like you guys are talking about, only very few companies that can actually afford to make a good durable product. And I think Srinivas, you were talking about this in the chat about Patagonia, the
Yep.
company that makes outdoor equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's an example that maybe perhaps they can do that because they need to make long-lasting equipment because their customers, depend on it for survival, for example, in the mountains. And they
Right.
kind of understand this and they're looking for a good long-lasting equipment. There can only be like very few companies that actually sell long-lasting gear because they need to sell more and more and more, and they're just not going to survive if they make gear that's too good.
Yeah, it's a funny point about Patagonia because I also watched that video that was analyzing it a little bit and showing how they kind of use that as their marketing strategy, that they are creating products that don't break down and stuff like that. So in a way, they have found maybe their niche to survive in this game, and it will be interesting to see for how long they will last because it's difficult to. It's not really incentivized. The only reason they can kind of maybe sell a lot of these things is also because it seems attractive for certain types of people as
Yeah.
well.
Well, Patagonia is, I think, a unique case as well. Like, I did a little bit of research on them earlier because I put it in my blog.
Right.
Because it's owned by a private person. It's just owned by like a guy who's a climber. He's an older guy, Ivan Schunard, I think is his name. And he didn't start the company to sell stuff. He didn't want to make money. That wasn't his objective. He started it because he was a climber, and back in like the 60s or 70s, he just wanted to make good climbing gear, and he ended up selling the stuff. He ended up making a company, but his objective was to make good quality gear, and he's actually cares a lot about the environment and all this stuff. But I mean, of course, you never know exactly what you hear and what is the truth and what is not. But I do know that from everything I've heard, that Patagonia actually does fix gear. You know, you can send
Right.
it back, you can get a refund on anything. It's made to last. And the interviews I've heard from him was, you know, we're going to do this so far, so long as this company is mine, and I'm not planning to sell this company to anybody. You know, so as long as it belongs to me, we're gonna make good, long-lasting products. And but then he'll die, and
I think
Yeah.
it's also like you're saying, it's a very like unique case.
yeah.
Because it's also like I think not many have the like not many companies can kind of sell to that part of the population. I think many of the
Yeah.
people who buy these types of products are maybe more like nature people, like, you know, they want to
Exactly.
go
Yeah, these
out
are
and they want to do things, and
No,
maybe there are people who are already
there's
inclined to kind of
they're people that go
reject
on
this
mountains. Yeah.
like perceived like obsolescence. So maybe they don't care if they look good or it's fashionable because of who they are.
That's exactly what's interesting, because in what little reading I've done about them, you get two kinds of people who buy their products. One is the really serious mountaineering crowd, the serious climbers and the serious outdoorsmen who want reliable gear, like Sasha was saying. The second kind of people are those people who say, like Apple fanboys are so crazy about their Apple products. They believe that Steve Jobs was with God. They believe, now Patagonia's cult-like following, from what I understand. Now they see this as their company is actually doing good. They're actually I mean, it travels word of mouth. You read online anywhere, you will come across a story of somebody who walked into a Patagonia store, came across another customer who was there for a return, and Patagonia was telling them to just go pick another jacket off the shelf because we can't repair it for you right now. And they are floored by that kind of company service.
But they give it to them for free, right?
They give it to them for free.
Yeah.
Because they already have a system in place that takes that clothing back and puts it back into their second system. I think it's called Worn Wear. That's their refurbished line. Other companies also do it, but they don't market themselves so well. They don't make it their USP. You know, they don't make their company philosophy. You can buy Dell refurbished laptops. The first laptop I got was a Dell refurbished laptop. It was for a third of the cost. And it was pretty good. I used it for a solid 3.5 years before I dropped it and it broke. I'm dropping things.
for a test?
I dropped it from my desk and it landed in the worst possible corner because it's like only plastic, and then all the dust got. Anyway, that Dell died.
But even such companies, you know, they have to sell something. If they wouldn't continue to sell tech stuff, even if they make them so good, they will go bankrupt. So probably they will come up with new stuff to sell, new stuff to advertise. You know, even if they make them very well, and at one point, if they will stop having sales in a way that they will make a profit to sustain themselves, they will come up with all kinds of shitty plans too. I don't think anyone can escape this. There are many companies who started, even in open source, you will see open source projects who start in a very decent way, and they say we don't want profits and we want to do this for people. Then they are stabbed by the society and they cannot sustain their projects, and they will put ads, or they may collect data, or they will just stop. So everybody is under this pressure of trade, needing to need something from people, money, data, or something.
Yeah, because they're pushed to do that. It's like this massive force that causes them to do that, basically.
I think it's an interesting comparison between Apple, the latest Apple stand, the Pro stand, the $1,000 stand. You know, I see it getting a lot of hate. The Pro stand that they came out with, it's the 1,000 aluminum stand. I see it getting
what is that? I don't know.
It's an Apple stand for a monitor.
It's a monitor. It costs $1,000. I mean, it sells at $1,000, and it's getting a lot of hate. Now, see, I can't see that exactly. I can't hate it because I look at that solid piece of aluminum and I sort of have an idea on how that thing is structured, and I'm a geek for that kind of thing. It has to be milled out to a solid piece of aluminum, and the finish on that aluminum is just premium, right? And I can only imagine what that the hinge is like, because all of that has to be custom manufactured. It's a marvel of engineering. It's like some serious engineers have worked on it. But then it's a monitor stand that costs $1,000. Within this only makes sense in an absurd system that is based on this maxim that the value of anything is what someone's willing to pay for it. I mean, have you ever heard a more unscientific and bullshit way to define value than that? These things are going to happen. I'm not saying don't make the Apple stand. I mean, engineers have to push themselves. It's amazing. But the fact that you have to pay, and also you have to think, realistically, if you look at it, that's not the value of it. Aluminum, that grade of aluminum probably it takes a lot of embodied energy to get that kind of aluminum. The process to extract aluminum from the ore and then machine it down. If you put that thing's value at embodied energy and you compare it to other products at embodied energy, then you get an understanding of true value, or at least something close. Is it worth $1,000? In that way, it makes $1,000 this magic number somebody came up with.
It's not $1,000. You don't get the value. It's $9.99 probably.
Oh my god!
It's a difference, because I'm sure isn't that the price probably?
Yeah, $9.99.
Yeah.
There we go.
You get a free stand for every 1,000 stands that you buy.
I'll take that.
And it's so wasteful. It's not just like wasteful in terms of resources as well, but also in terms of like human labor, making engineers just focus on building shit like that, and designing things that will break down rather than actually trying to make a product or a service that's benefiting all people and maybe making it the most effective way. And so it's all corrupted by, we need to sell this within 1 year, we need to release this new phone, so let's design it in a quick way. And it's just such a waste of human intelligence, really, and pushing people to design things that will break down then.
Yeah, I think the characteristic feature of our age that we live in currently, this amazing, super advanced modern age, is just two words: cheap and fast. Anything you look at it, it's cheap and it's fast. That's what you're getting in 2019.
Apple is like expensive and fast.
Because it's Apple.
This is like such a sad thing, because we have the technology to make such good products, and we won't just so we can make a profit.
And most people never even use the functionalities which they're selling, as another thing is like, most people just buy it for the sake of having a new phone, not because the camera is actually going to be useful to them or the processing power is needed, but it's just because it looks good and it's a social status thing, and not anymore about the actual product itself.
I mean, the documentary was so explicit in that. If you watch the Light Bulb Conspiracy, they literally tell you that the designers and the engineers came up with the idea of planned obsolescence, but then the marketeers sold it. You have to buy it, because the first time it was proposed, if you look at the documentary, it was in the 1920s, in the peak of the recession in the US, first financial crisis. Post-war, started marketing these cars and these new things that you must have new. It's the American way of life. You must have new. They literally sold it, and that's the perceived obsolescence.
They changed the culture, this big wave of people.
It's maybe a bigger example in terms of impact than cars when it comes to planned obsolescence, because it's full of cars. It's full of cars everywhere, and I live in a city that is full of tourists, so I don't get to see two cars that are the same. You only see different cars, but they are the same thing. 4 wheels, 5 seats, just 2-3 people inside the car, usually, like, or one, so it's a waste of space there. But
Yeah.
they are just a little bit more round here, a little bit more sharp. The color is a little bit more metal-like, but nothing else is different. So they release more and more cars. We have an abundance of cars. They have to, like, put down trees to make parking lots so that we put these new cars and these, like, unique cars all over, and it's becoming a mess. And now it will become even more of a mess because cars will get outdated, not because of how they look, but because of the software, because they will become very smart. They will become as
Right.
smart ones. So your car will not get the latest updates. I'm sorry, no, it works perfectly fine, but it's just like, it doesn't get the latest updates. Maybe it will not start, or maybe they will not let you on in this kind of city because you don't have the software that's updated. So you will see a new wave of planned obsolescence when it comes to smart cars.
Exactly. I just posted a link in the chat. It's about a movie. It's called Welcome to Sodom. And it's a huge landfill in Africa. And that's where all the electronic waste from Europe goes to. So the people in Africa, they have to search through the electronic devices to get the resources out of them to sell it to survive somehow. So yeah, we have this huge waste of electronics, of cars, of everything, basically, and it's terrible.
That's sound
Yeah,
documentary
and we
about.
just dump it in poor countries.
Yes.
Companies,
That's
they call it a gift, you know.
Yeah.
Here you go.
New jobs for
It's
people.
funny that I've seen a documentary about, I think, Nigeria, and how Nigeria became one of the biggest scam countries, like online scams, because people from US or other parts of the world, they throw the computers there. These guys take the hard drives, take the PCs, build the computers, extract files from the hard drives, extract information, and they are scamming back. Like, I think Nigeria is like scamming around 1 billion a year from US alone. Like, that's what happens, you know. It will bite your ass back.
Microwave your hard drives.
No, well, tell them, donate them to Nigeria or other parts of the world. You are a good human being. That's what happens, you know.
Yeah. But I think the saddest part is that people, like humans, just don't see the whole Earth as, one environment that all humans live on. You just sell more shit that you throw away and just dump it on another country as if it doesn't matter, and just have this infinite growth, infinite amount of trash, infinite amount of shit, and just keep on dumping
So
somewhere where we don't see it.
the world is always like it's like we are many people and we live in the same building, and some people just like take the dirt and put it under the rug or just throw garbage into a corner because nobody sees it, but we all live in this fucking house, and it will get stinky and it will like cockroaches and then diseases and then you will like eat us alive. Doesn't matter that you stay in your room, okay? Because your room is very close to my room and to the living room and so forth. And this is the world that we live in. They throw shit into Ghana or Nigeria and poor parts of the world. It comes back, because it's pollution. People migrating from there because of all kinds of reasons like waste and so forth. And it's a fucking mess. It's a complete mess.
Yeah, everybody
around the world. Sorry.
Oh.
Go on, Sophie.
Okay. No, just everybody is just operating at this out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
Where like there's only really the market, and everything else in selling and buying, and is just not really taken into consideration in the economic equation. It's just like everything that really has like tangible physical value for all of us is just a negative externality, that's kind of a parenthesis that some people look at but don't really have the time or the energy, or like doesn't make sense because of economics.
That's precisely what you have to look at when it trade-based societies, trade-centered societies. That's what they reduce everyone to. When you go from being market economies to market societies, are you a buyer or are you a seller? If you're neither one of those two, then you're either being bought or sold. That's it. You're a commodity, or you're the ones in charge in the trade. That's it. There is no other way to deal with the environment, to engage with the environment. We simply don't do that. And it's the system that does it. Of course, there's going to be planned obsolescence, because like in the documentary, it keeps the wheels of industry rolling. That they rationalize it by saying, if the production is continuous, if we keep factories running, there will always be jobs. Hence, nobody will be poor. You're impoverishing people by taking away their resources. You're forcing them into your factories, and then you're telling them that you're improving their lives. It makes sense when you shut everything else off and you like the sound of your own voice, but which is why I don't really think, every time I hear the word an economist or the science of economics, I'm saying like, this is woo. It makes no sense.
It's just crazy that the only thing that's not fake, like the only things that are real, are also the ones that are disregarded the most. It's like,
Right.
it just does not make sense.
I mean, if you have to take this topic forward, what solutions can you guys, not solutions, possible pathways can you see, moving forward? We have 3D printing, right? With open source, you can say, make the blueprints for the most efficient 3D printer available freely to everyone. So they will use their older 3D printers to print out the new 3D printers, which might be more efficient. But I have a sneaking suspicion that people will find the market experts, they will find a way to twist this system around. Just like every other piece.
They found a way already. So here's the thing: my printer is open source, my software is open source, models are open source. However, I am buying you. I sell the filament, the thing
Right.
in the printer, and
Right.
I know people who have such printers, and they have to buy only that specific. The printer doesn't work with any filament, but this one by the company, So then you see, they found the model already. It's not that
Yeah,
big.
I mean, if they cannot design and lock down the printers, they will design and engineer the filament.
Because you cannot make the filament. Most people probably will not be able to. They will find ways around this. And here's the thing: I don't think there are, like you guys said, I don't think there are bad people and so forth. It's just that they have to find a model. If you don't find a model for this, they cannot stay in business. So that's the problem here. How can you take this out of this system, this problem, planned obsolescence? I don't think you can. I think this problem is a result of this system. So
Right.
you deal with the system somehow, and you make at least parts of the system not being incentivized to fucking make things for their business to be like a cyclical consumption. Like they have to produce more and more and more and more and more and more. If you don't get rid of this, then you cannot force companies to behave well. Like I give you the example of some guy I think in Sweden, in parliament, he had this idea of forcing, it's a patchwork, of course, but just to give you an idea, forcing like I told you, the electricity companies to make the light bulbs, for example, and so forth with other things, like maybe you rent apartments, but you also maintain the furniture, because this you are forced to make a good furniture, you are forced to make good appliances, else you are forced to replace them. So if you change the incentive model, I'm not sure if it's going to work in this world, but I'm saying that other people are thinking about patchwork solutions. But patchwork solutions will always kind of work if you change the incentive. If you don't, then
Yeah, and on a bigger scale, it will certainly slow down the economy.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the main
that's
concern in this world, and because if every apartment provided furniture and they tried to provide the best furniture, then some furniture companies will go out of business.
But
We'll
nobody
be able
talked
to sell
about
more
this.
and more and more and more.
Nobody felt bad for repairmen going out of business. My grandfather repaired radios and TVs. That's how he made his living. He's an electrical engineer, and for a long time, he went around in our country. He went around from state to state in his little car, repairing TVs and radios, because that's what he knew, and that's how he made his money. The moment these authorized service centers came around, that a normal person couldn't fix a TV without like Apple's screwdriver or some patent thing like that. Millions of people who taught themselves how to repair basically went out of business. Nobody thought about that. Nobody thought about that because the repairmen were not paying into the company. So they're very happy to take someone else's money and livelihood to keep their own wheels turning. It's not malice, but like Theo was saying, there are no bad people. It's just the system forces you to make decisions like this because you simply.
It's not only about the screwdriver that Apple is, you need that. Apple actually doesn't, as far as I know, officially, you're not allowed to open up or to repair Apple products unless it's an authorized repair shop by Apple. Because I know it's this very famous guy on YouTube who repairs Apple computers, and he was sued by Apple so many times. Yeah, and imagine that, Tesla may do the same with their Tesla cars or whoever because they're incentivized to do so. So, but
Elon Musk, if you're listening, don't do it.
Stay with SpaceX. It's good.
Even if you were like Elon Musk's mother, I'm not sure if he's forced by the trade society. I'm not sure if he can resist the forces. But I wanted to mention and I want to ask Roma about this. I think we talk about we focused on the old style of planned obsolescence. I think the software part of planned obsolescence, I think it's something that will keep us alive. I think it's the most dangerous one because all of the appliances will become smart, not only cars. And you will see that if you want to, the appliance may be free. The appliance may be, like I told you, like I told the idea of this guy, they may sell the appliances, the company, because it's in their own interest. They make them very well built. But they will push updates like Apple or other companies, and they may cost you a little bit here, a little bit there, or in terms of data. So I think this is the new planned obsolescence. When your toaster will be like, well, you kind of have to update. If you don't update, you'll get this message like for 10 seconds, like, hey, please update, and then you can toast your bread.
While your bread is like getting black. Update. Oh, it's burning. Oh, fuck.
It is not optimized for this bread. Okay, so to optimize it for this bread, you have to. We find it ridiculous, but isn't it ridiculous today that maybe some cars may not turn on if you don't let the updates running, or your phones may not work if you don't update them. So I think, Roma, you're a programmer, Linux programmer, and you know a lot about software. So what do you think about this planned obsolescence when it comes to software?
Well, it's actually a good question. I hope you can hear me, guys, because I just struggling a little bit with connection. But anyway, so the problem is here that I can come from the other side to this problem because like a guy from the inside, from the IT infrastructure. And the problem here is that on the one hand, we have companies that are trying to keep software updated because it's new technologies, it's new stuff. It's like new approaches, new algorithms, and so on. And when you try to use something new, it's always like previous approaches becomes obsolete, becomes unused or very hard to be maintained in a way. And the problems here is that on the one hand we have this all new stuff, and on the other we have millions of previous versions of the software. And if companies trying to support any of them, it's a huge problem for companies because you cannot you cannot follow all this stuff forever. Someday, for example, you can just stop to support very old versions. In the case, even if this hardware and software works perfectly till today, probably Apple stopped support iPhone 5s from a week ago. But I have many guys and friends which still use these phones, and they work perfectly until today. But the problems here is that the company just cannot go forever with all of that.
Right.
And from this point, I think it's like, may sounds like defense of the companies, but I want to say that this is the problem actually, because this is like area when you can really very well hide some kind of the obsolescence here, because you can just say that, oh, I cannot support this stuff, or like a new version of my software just will stop like down low your performance of your device and so on. And this is the problem, because in this sort of way you always can find a reason why you need to do this and just hide the real reason of like to be just planet obsolescence, and that's all. But I like how it put in the video, in the book, like this is a very tricky way to think about the obsolescence. Does it really have a place or not, and so on? Because in real life, actually, we always need to see on this problem for the both side. And I agree with Sri and anyone who said that this is like a tricky problem, and some days like the environment just tries to push all this stuff for the companies to force them to do such things.
I think
But
you're bringing a very important here. Just to interrupt just a little bit, I think it's not a very important point here. So what I'm trying to explain is like, say Skype releases a version, like version 1.0, and this version works very well on today's like 2019 computers. However, this version will not work in 3 years on new hardware. So Microsoft, who owns Skype, is forced in a way to update this 1.0 version, even though they released more versions. And you will think that maybe this is planned obsolescence because, well, they will stop updating this 1.0 version. They moved on. You are forced to maybe use this 1.0 version of Skype because the other ones might be expensive or the other ones may not work on your system. And you might say this is planned obsolescence. But they might say that, look, guys, we don't have that many resources to fucking update every fucking Skype version to this new type of hardware to work on this new type of environment, software environment. But that being said, look at Linux, for example. When Linux does that for open source, and they update their versions of software to newer to work with newer hardware and so forth, because you get this kind of update for free and they don't maintain the older ones, because this environment is still like a trade-free environment, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think you can call that a planned obsolescence because they will have no reasons to not update the old open source software. They just moved to a new one because it's more efficient and so forth. So if it's about a company, I think, yeah, we can say that we don't know exactly did they do that for reasons that they didn't have the resources, or because they want to push people to get to this new kind of applications version. So it's like macOS. Because macOS releases new versions, and if it costs you to go to a new version, they are incentivized to maybe not update the older versions because they want you to update to the new version. While on Linux, that's what I'm trying to explain. Even if they move with the versions, because everything is open source and free, for one, you can update yourself the older version, and second, it costs you nothing to update to the new version. So in that sense, Linux, or people who are making Linux operating systems, are not incentivized to force you to update to a new version. So they are not incentivized to go into planned obsolescence. Do you know what, Roman?
Yeah, absolutely. And you see, you can like find a way how to hide the real planned obsolescence in all this stuff. Like the purposely, it's kind of like I do a good stuff. I give you like new update, new functions, new everything, and you can be happy with that. But the problem, the area of this is just too sneaky to just try to hide something in there, like obsolescence itself. So, and it's good you mentioned the Linux, because it's what I like in all this stuff. It's all free. You have no force to like update it because some company need to do profit and they just like throw you ads in the face or something like that, like update every day and every like event that you have on your computer. And this is why it's actually a great thing if you just imagine that we are free from like profit, from money, from everything, and you have just you know, like a pure technologies, pure science, pure like progress, and everything you need, you just go update, and it costs nothing. It's not like force you to go and buy new hardware because you cannot allow your new update or something like that. You just do it. You
projects, you know, and make a Linux version that is for all the hardware because it's
yeah,
open. People can contribute.
yeah,
This way it
yeah,
pushes
absolutely.
lessons away.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing that's really bothered me, and I think you mentioned it, but I just got dropped somewhere in between you are speaking about it. So it was about that we have a lot of the same things on the market, but in reality, all these things are that's the same shit, just with different covers, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really thing that really bothers me is a lot more than like obsolescence, and that's all because think about it. You just always when you want to buy some new thing, everything you need is just best thing. You want to have a best fucking thing in the world to do your stuff. And you know, you don't need all this shit they are trying to put it in your face. Like, you can have car like this, or car like this, or car like that. They even have like categories for each of this car. You can like buy the cars from the C class or B class or A class. And the funny thing that all the cars in this line, or like A class, they all the same, just different, you know, different, yeah, different producers, and that's all. And another problem I want to mention is that all these companies that trying to do the same car on this line, they are really forced to like it's a very common approach to like do I don't remember how it calls correctly. It's like intellectual property or something like that. It's like make a patent on all of this, all the technologies you have. And what we have in the result, we have, for example, two companies. One have a great, you know, design of chairs in the car. And another company have a great design of I don't know light in the car, or I don't know, engine, something like that. And the problem is each of this company patented their technologies, and the result is that no one from outside or from these companies that are compete, they have no ability to use these technologies, and they should, you know, like reinvent a new bicycle each time. It's fucking thing bothering me the most in the all they have, because instead of like have one great producer who just take the best technology, they have engines, chairs, I don't know, windows, mirrors, and so on, and take it together and create the best car on the market. And I, as a consumer, for example, if you wish, I can change the terminology. And for example, I'm just a consumer who want to buy a best car on the market. I just go and buy it. That's it. That's the best car in the world. They have all this technology. Instead, we have a bunch of this fucking shit. We then need to dig inside each of one and try to understand what's like me best, like a red color or a green color. I don't fucking
It's good that they
understand.
patent how do you call it, the wheel.
Yeah.
We have square wheels today. If they will patent that, we will be struggling, but people will be like, "That's the market, man." I mean, someone patented that. If you want to use it, the round, the circle, wheel,
Yeah.
we have to invent new ones like squares and all kinds.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Just patents the word
No.
car, and that's it.
This
You
whole
need to.
patent system is like, it's like a vicious cycle. People get into the patent system to protect their ideas because they feel a need to protect them, right? Because they don't want anybody to steal it. The ideas are not made, not many ideas are made to be distributed and to benefit people, like Roma was saying. Instead, what these people do, companies actively buy patents and suppress technology. It was there in the documentary. And this is standard practice. It's a terrible thing. But let me ask you guys a question. From what you've been saying, this question of planned obsolescence in technology when it comes to software, it's a tricky problem because hardware cannot keep up with software, right? There's the difference. So even if people made all software updates free, imagine that. I mean, if your old hardware cannot handle it, you're still forced to get, you have to buy new hardware to run the new software. It's still not, just making software updates free is not going to be possible. The second thing that I think what Roma was mentioning is that it's just more expensive for companies to dedicate resources to supporting old and out, basically obsolete software or stuff that's been rendered obsolete. It's understandable, but don't we have AI or close to AI and algorithms right now that can probably offset some of that human labor that is required? I don't know. What do you guys think?
in society, hardware and software, they are married with each other, but they are all, both of them are charlatans. Because if you think about it, the software, of course, maybe they push the software to the limits and you are forced to get the new hardware to use this software, and the other way may happen, like the hardware gets pushed and the software is not compatible anymore. This is because of how we develop this society that is so fucked up. Because if you are to create, for example, computers or other pieces of hardware, you create servers. You will not put a server into the bucket of every human being. You don't. That's a stupid idea. To put the CPU, to put the graphic card, to put RAM memory. Of course, this is a stupid idea, and they update them all the time, and the software has to update. However, think about Google. When you use Google.com, you don't have to worry about how is Google updating their own servers, or is my phone updated for Google? No, you use Google as a service. It comes from somewhere, some hardware that they optimize and the software that they optimize for that particular server. So if the world will work like that with servers that are streaming operating systems, streaming applications, and so forth, this problem will be a lot less because companies are, again, they will be forced, or organizations, to marry very well the software and the hardware to create a proper product for people to use. So people will not have to worry about updating the hardware, updating software, hardware all the time, this kind of war. So I think that's an answer for this. It's because of how they push both of them.
It does seem like a plausible idea. If now that we have the technology for it, I think Coach will be aware of it. They're trying to push gaming to become a streaming service.
Yeah.
Basically, what that means is that they want to own the hardware, they want to own the software and the games, and the only peripheral that you have at your end is something like an advanced router that gives you the connection to their centralized hardware, right? So the faster your internet connection, lower your latency for these games. Think of all technology like that. It's reasonable to understand that the end product that if it's a cell phone, it's just a screen, right?
Yeah.
And you can make as long lasting as possible. The actual software is there in the company, and if you have to change something, the base system, the precondition that forces companies to prioritize or incentivize efficiency over profit making, like sheer efficiency. Like you want to be able to support more people. You want to be able to make this thing only run faster and use lesser resources at the same time, right? And then what people have in their hands is just a peripheral device that gives you access, basically. Now, even here, these companies can then start charging you for access. They tried to do that with internet neutrality, where they started to package the internet and sell it to you, because the rates are basically made up by the guys who own the hardware, the infrastructure, right? So as long as you're playing the trade game,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
about to say. Yeah, it's because it doesn't matter where you push it. Because maybe take this idea that I had. Like, imagine an operating system, Android, let's say. It's on some servers, and you have the phone. The phone is just a screen, and you will
yep,
access it. You will access. You will use like you use your TV at home. You have the channels are pushed into your screen, and the screen is like an input you put there, you just click on stuff and it comes from somewhere else. You don't need much hardware, you
yep,
don't need much software. You have the power that I have the power, the same that you have the power because it comes from the same servers. Okay? It's like Google. So you access
right,
Google. Your phone doesn't do the searches, Google does. However, in this society, they will sell it as a service. And you will have less power than me because if you pay less, I will have more access than you because I pay more, and it will become a shitstorm, but in another direction. Another
right,
kind of planned obsolescence in this sense because my phone will be useless even though I will have the same access as you because I don't have the money to pay for the same actually
right.
kind of that you have. So it becomes a problem. Technologically, we can do this, and we can put less hardware even in cars that you can make them without steering wheel. Kitchens that maybe you don't need a kitchen in every fucking home if people will have access to food. Phones you don't need hard CPUs and RAM and so forth if you stream the operating system. Technologically, we can do this. We can use a lot less resources. The problem is in this world it will become the same it will become the same trades, and it will fuck things up in another direction with premium subscriptions, data collection, advertising, and so forth.
Yeah, right. Just give companies like 6 years to develop the technology like cloud streaming and so on, just to eliminate this problem with hardware, and they spend like 4 or 5 years to just discover like how to do a price list, not just like
Hmm.
do a technology or like implement something really like needed. They just spend all this time like how we can get a money in this case from the guys or how
Yeah,
in another and so on.
it's
I
a
love
very complex science.
I love this kind of heaven on earth with engineers who will be asked engineering questions like how can we solve this without
Right.
asking how can we solve this and also make a profit.
Just
That would be like
that.
Yeah,
heaven on earth. Like hey, let's get some scientists, some engineers, and ask them how would you solve this problem. Don't think about money. Don't think about profits. How can we solve it? And I
yeah,
think find solutions for every fucking thing, everything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cody,
Yeah, absolutely.
what about you? Because I didn't hear about you. What about that new phone that is
Planned
like
obsolescence.
butterfly, that is like opening like that?
oh, did you get that phone?
I was tempted last year with the release of the video and the ooh, and in terms of usefulness, I'm not sure what that really gives you now. I mean, maybe rollable OLED screens are kind of like a cool technology, but this thing it seemed rushed, and yeah, I'm sure we all are familiar with the shit show that turned out to be, and
Yep.
wow, your reviewers are breaking your product. So, yeah, planned obsolescence in that way, and just I guess that's them trying to innovate and rush a
Yeah,
product that's not
Yeah.
ready to be released to market, and that's from your trade forces and loss of efficiency.
What would you push? What would push you to buy such a phone? Like what is about? What is? Let's see
Techno.
how marketing works here. I want to understand your brain.
I like screen real estate, as you
I know.
can tell. And then I guess it'd be like portable computing power. So to drive said two screens and this foldy thing. It's kind of like a convenience.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. That's why I got the Razer V3 on it. It looks cool. It is definitely a huge reason for that. But then, yeah, you since I've been aware of this world and the sneaky little ways they can get to you.
I can literally imagine the ad that they should have run for that thing. It's like there's a crowd of people, right? And everyone's in their phones, and then they tell you, open up to the new. And then some guy opens up his screen like that in a crowd, and everybody's like,
oh my god.
And then new colors and butterflies flies
Yeah.
away.
Back in the days, you had those like flip phones.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know, and then after a few years, they become like, "What the fuck is that?" You know, this is such an ugly thing. Like now, it's going to happen the same with these phones. They will release the other flip kind of phones, like with the landscape, like the butterfly phone, and then they'll become ugly. Like, what the fuck? You are like such a. Who has this shit? You know, go back. To the
No,
phone
see,
screen. Go back to
the guys who released that landscape phone were probably like the hyper nerds or something. Like, oh, okay, let's do this. No, see, the flip phone is cool because you can open it like that. You know, that's a cool action to do. Yeah, and then you put it back down. You know, that's what sells. Imagine doing that with the landscape. That's like just like a.
They will figure a way, like you said, like who opened this, and then you can see the entire movie. Because even in movies, they were advertising the flip phone because it was like, oh, Motorola or whoever, like this.
Moto Razr. Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Ooh, that was a nice phone.
That's quite obvious.
I love that phone. I didn't have the money to buy it, but it was super cool.
Yeah.
Hey, the old guys. Hey, hello.
Yeah, it's actually super stupid to have this like technology with the screen which can be bent in each way, basically. Like you can wrap it that or like this anyway, but they made a phone like which bent in one way only. Like what the fucking reason for that? You can just create a screen that can be like wrapped around the wrist or like wrapped in the tube or something like that. You can put it in the pocket.
It's like this. This is wireless charging. See?
Yeah.
It's wireless, but I mean, I have to still put it here, but it's wireless.
Yeah.
And they can sell it like wireless, but it's not quite wireless. Same there. It's
No,
like on one side. Not that great.
I mean, I mean, this wireless charging thing is actually quite interesting because I will never buy that shit as long as it's like this. With a wired charger, I can put my phone all the way away, but this thing it has to be there.
I know.
I mean, the wire is not, but it's still tethered. It's meta in a way, and it's just too much. I can't process that kind of thing. Stupid.
But these kind of things too, like you bought that because it was like €8. It's probably gonna break in like a year. You know, to add to the massive pile of garbage in Ghana.
You'll give it a year?
Yeah, maybe.
That's right.
It's sad.
Not much, so it just like it stays here and it charges in the same time. So stay here. No, I don't use it.
It's so funny when you go to a store to buy something new and you just know you're being like ripped off and cheated and everything when you're down there. And I'm like, I need something, but I don't want any of this shit, you know? Because you know it's not gonna last any of it.
The worst to go into a store that sells phones and ask them, be like, you know, what do you recommend for me? Like, I want to know. That's the most, because my family had like a business with my uncle with phones. My mother worked there, and I know for a fact they're like fucking, they will rip you off. You know, one time they had so amazing. One time they had like colored phones. It was back in the days, but here's the thing: behind the screen they had an image that was colored. It was glued to the screen. So
Right.
it was like wallpaper. It looked a bit colored, and people were like tripped by that. They were like, "Oh, I have a colored screen phone," but in fact,
Oh my god.
I'm like, oh look, the colored screen phone. It's great. No, it's a thing that was glued on the screen. You
Sticker.
know, that's fucking crazy. So of course you don't go into a store and be like, I want to. What do you recommend as my phone? How can people trust when you? I don't think anybody trusts. I'd be down there like, I think they will scam me.
AK, what would you like to sell today?
And going online, reading reviews, you can't trust any reviews either. Because it
Yeah.
depends on motive, you know?
No, there are farms here in Bangladesh and near, I think even in India, where they hire people in bulk and you can get any kind of review you want. Now with
Yeah,
chatbots,
yeah.
all those people are also going to lose business because of chatbots, and those chatbots are going to fill up the reviews. We are going to go into a really spooky age where you will not know. But even talking about this perceived obsolescence, did you guys notice what happened with TV screens? First, they were curved, they would curve outwards towards you, and then you have to have TV screens.
Yeah.
They would be curved, it's like convex. So they'd be curved towards you, it's like a bulb. And then they went flat slowly. They slowly went flat. And now
They're like,
Samsung is trying to make the screen come towards you. It's so bizarre. Like, make up your mind. Is flat better or like curved better? Like, I don't want to see a screen which looks like that. I see normal human beings. They probably see like in a 60-degree cone of vision. I see like 10. That's all I bother with. Like anything that happens over here is not my problem. So I need a screen like that big. Right? Why is it doing this?
now it's like
Flexible
that.
screens.
Like you're streaming this now. Now it's like this, and you don't know if people are filming through like fans. Or...
No, flexible screens as a technology developed by engineers is a good idea because you can reduce the form factor of phones, right? You can roll up the screen and you get a cylinder that you stretch out. I saw that concept somewhere. It's a good idea, right? You have less to carry. It probably is flexible, so you don't have to worry about me dropping it and breaking it. It's a good idea. But then to sell such a shitty version of it is to doom the technology.
Yeah,
It's absurd.
Who sold this one?
absolutely in agreement with that. Because all the time you notice that this tech might give a huge profit. Is a bad word. Don't say that. Never.
It's not advertising thing when they release such things. Even if they don't work, it's an advertising thing for them.
Yeah. So every time it's a great piece of technology, but when you see the result, it's always a disappointment because like you can make a huge difference with that, but every time it's going to be shitty stuff. The only place where I see how the technology can work and there's 100% of their the thing that were imagined about that, it's that the open source software where the people don't work because they are pushed or like they need a profit or something like that. They just basically have a great idea. They come out to the world, came with guys together and try to implement this stuff, like to see how will it works. And the other way in which open source is a great idea in general, because you can grab a lot of guys from all over the world with a different specialization, with a different minds and brains, and it's a pure innovation. When you have a lot of people with the different views and different perspective on the thing, you can grab one guy and listen him about this object, and other guy from other object combined somehow, and you get pure innovation here.
Contribution from other people.
Yeah, and most company cannot afford. They have a great teams like 300, 50, 10,000 hundreds around the world, but basically they most of them actually they because of the profit, because they need to straight for the living or something like that. And this is also
To me, it's amazing how they did it. Like, to me, it's the perfect example. These so-called keynotes, Google keynotes, Apple keynotes, when they come to big stage. To me, this is dystopia. Come big stage and they present these new things that they released. Do you know, guys? Do you know? You are familiar with this? Because it's like,
Yeah.
and people are there. Oh, it's so good. What did you release this year? And they show you the same crap. It's so funny. You should watch one of them, like from Apple, maybe because they are the
Yeah.
most funniest out of them all. Like,
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
these guys developed this stuff like
and it's
keynotes.
amazing because that's the they put the perceived obsolescence with such events. How come technological releases became now events like that with hundreds of thousands, now millions of people watching them? What do they release to in terms of this shitty kind of? Because in the end, what the fuck are they releasing? They do nothing. When I hear like people saying that, oh, Apple is pushing innovation. Fuck no. Apple is pushing consumerism. What is so innovating about that? Apple is using like the gyroscope and the touchscreen and so forth that are invented by all kinds of big governments for military purposes. They just take those and make them a bit smaller, a bit more faster. Okay, but what do they? In the end, what do? They release a screen that people are using to consume ads and to consume to provide data for other companies. What is so amazing about that new 4K monitor from Apple or that new iPhone? What is so great? Nothing is that great. They just make people buy newer stuff because and now with the internet everybody's like jumping in. This is amazing because everybody wants trades. Okay? So Apple releases this keynote. Now YouTubers, tech YouTubers, they want views, they want a trade. So they go there and they advertise this show, and they get this ball rolling and rolling and rolling, and they influence more and more people, millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people, to buy this new shiny thing from Apple just because everybody wants trades and no one gives a fuck about the entire world. What does it mean, the consumerism? No, everybody wants something and they push this shit. So for me, this is scary today with the internet because everybody jumps on board. Articles, YouTubers, everything like Instagram, everything, tags and so forth, hashtags. So to me, this is they have a lot more power today to influence people, to push for new products and to make the old products seem obsolete. And I think this is very scary.
That's the hype train.
Yeah.
Yep.
What
That's
actually
hype
they
train.
made, it's a cult of
Yep.
their products or something like that. It's most like religion or something like that. And
Yeah, but you just have to know that this apple is not the apple from Eden. For all the hype.
absolutely.
That's poisonous. Wasn't the story like that?
Even if it was, I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Because that apple got you kicked out of like a really good place apparently. I mean, like people didn't have to wear clothes, food, everything was trade free.
Talking snakes.
They didn't need
Yeah, talking.
Why
You
not?
missed out on
Actually.
What do you guys think? I think in this documentary, they mentioned, okay, we just need like a cultural change, a cultural shift for people to want long-lasting products and things like that.
What do you think, Aaron? Need a cultural change?
Well, I know people and they say, okay, we need circular economy or we need cradle to cradle. So companies need to design the products that they can be recycled and then, yeah. But the problem is it only is a patchwork of the system and it doesn't tackle the root problem of the system because the system itself, the trade system itself incentivizes these companies to make products who break.
Yeah,
So
even
yeah,
when
it's
it's recycled, it still goes through a massive process. That
mm,
it still creates a lot of waste.
exactly. So circular economy, cradle to cradle, I think is not going to work. And
I
yeah,
hear some like horror background sound.
Who is that?
Oh,
Hello.
someone joined. Hello.
Hello.
So there's one more person like me.
What do they have in common? Hello.
I think it's a background noise because of you. If you can put headphones, please. When you come up. Yes, you want this like I heard about the circular economy and human wave and all of the stuff. I know it's a good theory. It's almost like communism and socialism, interesting ideas, but if they don't see the force that's behind it, they don't see the face, then they're not going to do anything with that. They'll become another business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
yeah, so I think that's I think in today's world it's hard to argue kind of against planned obsolescence because it's also in a way it's hard to argue for because you might think that they are hiding they just do these updates and so forth for other reasons, but it's also hard to argue against because companies always produce stuff, so they are pushed to do new things, so it's kind of hard to say no, they don't want you to buy the new phone, they want you to use the old phone or the old car and so forth. No, they always want to push for the new, and the new it's always not that new, and that's what
No.
happened when they started in I think with Ford and the other guy who Ford was like, let's make cars that come in two colors, white and black, and the other guy was like, are you fucking crazy? We have so many colors, we have to sell them, make them
Right.
blue, red, and
Mm.
different shapes. That's the
Mhm.
problem here.
Mm.
But imagine
And
this.
I think
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, and I think it was a really great example that you gave with the what was it, a tank or something that a Canadian company made and tried to sell
Right.
to the military.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it was in the book. Yep. And it was so good that they wouldn't buy the next tank because their old one was so good that it was still working. So
Yeah,
it's
we have.
that goes for any business. If you make a product that's too good, then you won't be able to sell the next one and the next one
And
and the
for
next
people
one.
who are arguing that, we create variety, because look how many cars, look how many. Here's what I'm going to tell them. Would you like for the power sockets to be new power sockets, like every other year? So you change all of your fucking electronics and you get an adapter. Would you like that? Would you like this kind of jack to be a new kind of jack every fucking years, and USB ports and so forth? Would you like that? Because I'm sure people will be bothered if power sockets will be changed every 6 months to a year. It will be a complete disaster to change all of that. Yet they think it's a good idea to make a new car, just a little bit like a little bit different here and there, or a laptop or a phone. So that's what I have to say to them. Like, would you like that? Would you like a new power socket?
It's kind
I
of what
mean,
Apple's doing.
yeah,
Kind of,
yeah.
yeah.
That was really bizarre. With their cable, I mean, I thought the USB cable came into existence only because people wanted to cut down on electronic waste. If everyone was using the same kind of cable, you would have the amount of waste would go down because anyone can produce the same kind of cable. Then Apple goes and brings out their proprietary cable
Mhm.
for purely Apple reasons, and everything goes down the drain again. And with that tank example, that was infuriating for me. Is it not enough that you have made one murder machine so good you don't need to make it again? Like it's not. It is a machine for murder, and it makes that murder look good. Okay, I mean, like, not look good, but like you like massive murder. It's not enough. They have to keep making. We have to keep putting our money into more and more murder machines, and then you have people running on. Oh no, why do we have wars? You have wars because people keep making the murder machines. Stop. Make up your mind. Make out the most badass weapons, and then don't make them anymore, and never use them. You know, it's absurd.
Wars and weapons probably are one of the biggest in terms of, at least in terms of monetary power, monetary value. They are probably the biggest market there. It's huge. It's the selling of weapons, the selling of ammunition. It's immense. It's immense. So
and it's
why would they stop? It's a
Yo,
huge.
Cody, have you played? Have you seen Escape from Tarkov, the game?
Mm-mm.
So there is this game where you go kill people, murder game. In that you have one of the many murder games. You have, I think you have like some 75,000 types of 7.62 ammo. It's bizarre. Why are you producing so many different kinds of bullets? Isn't there a better use for lead or gold for that matter? Like, this is the problem when you don't put science at the forefront, and then you let people who lead, the people who are in charge are people who firmly believe that the value of anything is the cost someone's willing to pay for it. You put these morons in charge and not scientists. And that's why you get all this kind of bullshit. It won't be surprising if they start making real life guns available to the public in which you can sticker on things. I think it's already there. You can have pink bullets, Hello Kitty bullets shooting out at people. This will happen.
Say in their terms, they create a variety. Just it.
There are businesses that customize weapons in US. There are big businesses who, I'm not sure if they're big, but they customize weapons. All kinds of, yeah, there are something like that. I'm not sure about bullets, but they customize weapons. Yeah, I've seen
the problem is a violent response a violent response to violence. Okay, that is your problem. You don't solve that problem by making fancier looking murder guns or like murder tools. It's
I think really the most important thing to highlight, because it goes all over every single company in all these different sectors, whether it's weapons, computers, smartphones, or whatever the fuck, it's the incentive system, and it's the why are people doing what they're doing, and most people never even question that. They're like, oh, these people are just trying to fuck everybody over, but why? Why are they doing it? It's because of the structure that is pushing them, because they have to trade for, in order to make a living, in order to outcompete another person, in order to win, and so forth. So that's the most important thing. And if there is a good or a service that is kind of trade free and doesn't want anything from you, that could be something where they would tend to do things that last and that are not designed to break down and to are not advertised in a sneaky way. So because the incentives are not there, with Linux, the incentives are to design something that works most effectively and for free, and everyone can have access to it, and so on. So it's the most important thing to change, to go all the way back to the origin of most problems and to the cause that actually drives all these different absurd behaviors we see in society today.
And to give the example with hardware, because people may think, okay, but what about examples about hardware, not only software? What I was talking about, when the incentive of a company changes and the company produces the phones, and also the business model is selling the service, they can physically, from an engineering perspective, produce a better phone when it comes to that. So, or the internet company can produce a good router that will last for years, just because they don't have the incentive to change the router. They only have the incentive to sell the service. So it's possible. It's not like it's not possible. I think we are so used today with things breaking down so fast that we feel it like it's normal. Oh, it's normal. I have a pair of headphones for 2
But
years.
it doesn't matter because I can buy another one.
Maybe they will break today or tomorrow.
Completely. And you also see it with like the governments, when governments design like public transportation, for example. Here in Denmark, at least, it's designed to last super long, unlike with cars that are designed to, break down and so forth, because it's in their interest kind of to keep it going for as long as possible. They do not want to have to maintain it and repair it and all that type of shit again.
We even have here in Spain those in parks that they put some exercise machines that people can go there. They are very resilient. Compare those to those that they sell for your inside your house. It's a big difference there. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
And take clothes, take shoes that you would have bought 40 years ago. Compare them to shoes you can buy today.
I mean, the fashion industry is probably one of the industries that are so obviously like just perceived obsolescence and is the most stupid thing. I mean, if you go to a mall, I mean, if I don't go there for a while, when I come back, I feel like I'm going insane. It's like there's so many products and they're all the same, and probably most of these things are just gonna go directly to the trash. It's so crazy and it's so cheap. Like,
it's so easy, those motherfuckers from Samsung, they had to struggle a little bit to make the butterfly phone, but those people in fashion to come up with new features, it's so easy. They just rebrand them and that's it. Don't do anything.
What new feature in fashion?
Exactly, what new feature?
You mean the balloon dress? Did you guys see that story? Why?
And when they realized that fast fashion was really profitable, it just took off like crazy. And
I mean,
what's happened from it? Huge exploitation.
like 3 years ago, I threw away a T-shirt that was, I think, 24 years old, because my dad bought it in the US, and my dad likes to keep things very, very neatly. He's like that. He's not like me. So I was like, "Can I have this T-shirt?" And he's like, "It's an old T-shirt." I said, "No, but I like it." And then he gave it to me. And with him, it had lasted, I think, 18 years, and with me, it lasted 6. But still, it's a 24-year-old T-shirt. That T-shirt was 6 years older than me. It's amazing. I mean, they just don't market that. They don't market that. They don't market, like, I had a blanket that was 6 years older than, like 5 years older than me, because they made those things to last. And it's amazing. Wouldn't you want to live in a house or in a building that is 350 years old and was still good? Isn't there some value to it? That not only you, but people who came before you and people who will come after you will continue to live in that house. Isn't that a great thought? Like, people look at hand-me-downs. Like, see, when I grew up, it was in the 90s. It was a very big thing. It was a normal thing. We wore our big brother's clothes. Okay, it was fun to receive that every year. You get a bag. Your cousins would give you their clothes that there's in another city, and you'd look forward to it. Oh, this is what my big brother was wearing. It was fun, and we would fight over which T-shirt we got, and it's not that we were poor. It's just a thing that we did as a family because we outgrew these T-shirts, and they were so good you could spare them. You just had to give it on to your younger cousins, or we don't see that anymore.
But I don't think many people are throwing clothes away because they like break, and maybe Sasha sometimes, but because they just you use them too much or so forth. Because I had this discussion with Sasha because she says maybe I do that because I care about clothes and I wear them for a long time. I don't just throw them away. But most people, it's because of fashion. It's not like you change your clothes, it has like lots of holes in it and it doesn't. No, it's because most of the time it's because of fashion. You just want the new T-shirt, the new fashion.
Maybe they'll even buy a piece of clothes with a bunch of holes in it because that's what's in now. I have had like a little bit of a foot inside of the fashion industry, a little bit. Just like have had a look inside, and it's like it's pure insanity. It's completely crazy. Like also all these like delusion people, it's so crazy. It's like people with art, that now this thing, and I'm sure like people take like anthropology like classes and stuff to like kind of predict where everything is gonna go, and anyway it's just all the like huge brands with a lot of money that like dictate what's gonna come because it has to be different from the last season, so everyone is buying new shit. And I think Sarah, which is like one of the biggest, like I think there are two, like it's H&M, and then it's like Sarah is one of the branches of the other company that is kind of dominating the fashion industry. They changed their entire product range, like within a shop, every week, once a week.
Wow.
They change everything.
Where do the
it's
clothes
really
go?
crazy. Sorry?
Where do the clothes go?
They
Can
burn
I have
them.
some?
There was a huge like thing about it also, but so
They burn them?
they burn it. They don't even send it to people that need it or anything.
Why can't
But
they
it's-
recycle them?
Because it was money.
Yeah.
Probably.
And it's so crazy to see. It's just like all these minds that are so delusional around this whole thing of like consuming and consuming and consuming. Also with like people talk a lot about like how well people are off in Denmark and stuff. Don't get me wrong, like we are, and there's a great like social like security net and all this stuff, but it's like it's just another level of the same insanity. It's like people like their after school like activity is shopping, or trying out a new cafe. Like they have a new cake or a new cheesecake.
Oh no, I'm guilty of that.
Oh, yeah, but it's just this like, yeah, I don't know. It's
In the
just
States,
the same stuff. Same shit.
For many people, shopping is like a stress relief. Too, I think it's insane. I heard you say something about me too, but I didn't hear what it was about the clothes thing.
Yeah, because you wear clothes. Not many people wear clothes until they break down. Like,
I thought you were gonna say for the function, not until they get home.
But I think what you need to look, how you can probably solve that is to probably design things that get better with age. Brass and bronze, they patina over time, and even copper. You have I understand in Germany you have silver and copper roofs that are hundreds of years old, at least 150, 160 years. We don't have a kind of grade of copper anymore, but in construction, but that's where you should be looking at, even in clothes. Imagine you design fibers that not only get stronger but feel more comfortable as you continue to use them. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to have? Like it's just nicer as it ages.
Yeah, and for sure they can design stuff like that. It's just they have no reason to. They have no incentive.
Yeah, design that and go out of business after.
Yeah, like in the documentary.
Yeah, the movie with the thread.
The thread thing too. It was funny. Yeah, not only did the businesses come after them, but the employees because they were going to lose their job.
Yeah, and those are the consumers that then buy the shitty products. So it's
exactly. So it's a system, and then they get stressed out from working in these shitty jobs, and then they go and consume more, buy more, and it's just an ongoing cycle. It's insane when you think about the fact that we have a planet of finite resources, and we don't know what to do with our garbage. We're just dumping it in poor countries and just forgetting about it.
Put some dirt on it. It's fine.
Yeah, just put it in a corner over there. Let's shoot it off to space.
Yeah, let's shoot it off to space. That's the new thing. They want to shoot dead people up into space. Have you heard about that?
People, then why not?
Yeah, because see, the main problem with putting people in space is that you have to keep them alive. Not if they're dead already. That way you just shoot them out of a cannon or something into space.
We kind of do that today with satellites. It's cheaper to just make them explode, and that's it. Forget about the
that's totally not going to go wrong.
Yeah. Fall into the ocean. It's much cheaper than just bring them down or dispose them in another way. So it's already happening.
It reminds me of that the video of the walruses falling off the icebergs I saw in this in this documentary. Have you seen that? Apparently, they were falling off.
I think it's behind the scenes, Our Planet. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I saw
Apparently, it was argued that these walruses hadn't developed eyes that could have that kind of long distance vision that they could perceive that beyond the iceberg's edge, you fall off and die. So they're just randomly going in search of water and they fall. It's so sad, but that's what's happening to these poor things. The humans, it's happening the same way. Only if you shoot it up into space or bury it in the ocean. See, I can't see it now. I'm going to be dead in 20, 30 years anyway. So out of sight, out of mind.
But then you figure the same level of stupidity for sure.
But then you figure out that by some weird coincidence, the Buddhists were right, and then you reincarnate anyway, and then you the moment you die, you wake up in Fallout New Vegas, where everything's gone to shit. You're living in all the toxic waste is washing up on shore because the sea lines have rised up, and nobody did anything about global warming. And then, at least for that, get the believers at least to start taking care of their shit better. But no, even then, no, we're going to heaven. We're not coming back to Earth. People will think up every single way to not clean up their shit.
It's not even that, but all the religions teach you to be nice towards other people, to not make a profit, not be like that. And everybody's the opposite because they live in this society. So
But you draw one small cartoon and you're dead to them. So
yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. So I think we covered a lot of this subject, and maybe we have, if we don't have anything else to add, maybe we can go quickly to some news.
just one last thing. If
Mm-hmm.
any of you guys ever come up against people who give you this argument again and again, the trade system, capitalism, whatever it is, it gives rise to innovation. Point them to planned obsolescence. That's the exact counter argument you need. Trade
Yeah.
slows down progress. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Good point.
So what do we have for it?
All right, let's transition. Tackling sustainability and urbanized with AI-enabled furniture.
This could be a positive news, but in today's trade-based world, it could be a bad news if you put like AI, like we discussed in furniture. I mean, it, maybe you don't get updates, or maybe it doesn't work with this new furniture, the software and so forth. But the idea, if you have or not pushed by trades, it's interesting to make furniture that is more like smart and adapts, for smaller spaces. You can have a bed that is lifts up from the ceiling to make more space, or all kinds of closet that know what you put inside, or any way to make them more smart with artificial intelligence and make them more efficient. So we can do that. Some companies are doing that, but of course lean towards profit. But it's just
They'll collect data. How you sleep.
yeah.
What you do in your couch.
Yeah.
How long you sit in your chair.
What else?
Yeah, the TROM-Jaro link.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, if they only watch TROM-Cast, we released a terrific operating system from Java, and that's not based on plan obsolescence. You, yeah, you can install it, and you'll get updates and so forth. So it's check it on tromjaro.com, and we use TROM-Jaro. Code uses TROM-Jaro to stream. Are you using it? Yes.
On this guy and the other.
TROM-Jaro. Okay, check it. Is Theo using TROM-Jaro? Is he using? Yes, he is. Everybody's So yeah, go check it out and install. You have. I made a live stream about it, and you can check it out.
And by the way, TROM-Jaro is fully translated into German, so spread it with your German friends.
Well done.
Yeah.
German speaking.
Great job.
How LBS innovations keep trying to monopolize online maps.
Perfect for today's topic. And did you read the news, Cody? If not, I will.
I did, but this one was seemed like patent trolling, I guess.
Yeah. Someone was like, you know what? I think we invented the maps things. Like whoever uses maps online to search for stuff, or just like GPS coordinates and so forth. And why not sue Apple and Microsoft and patent trolls that they just buy patents and then they try to sue other companies to make money, which is crazy. Like for maps, what the fuck, This EFF Foundation, they have like a section with bad or stupid patents.
Stupid patent of the month.
Of the month, of course, and they highlight this stupidity, so you know what's happening in this world. Patent trolling. So.
Amazon Prime Video is full of dodgy documentaries pushing dangerous cancer cures and other things.
Didn't we read a news not long ago that Amazon is taking a stand against quackery documentaries, and they are removing them, and it was like a marketing PR actually. And I was telling back then, like, it isn't marketing PR. They don't give a fuck if they promote like conspiracy bullshit. And now they did a study, a bit of a research, and they realized that Amazon Prime is still full of shit, like full of cancer, quackery documentaries and shit like that. So just so you know that's how it works. Never trust when Netflix or Amazon are saying, "Oh my God, we have these conspiracy documentaries," because other people are pointing to them. We removed them. Look at us. We are taking action. No. They're just like a PR thing. Don't give a fuck.
The International Space Station is the next tourist destination.
What do you guys think about that?
I think I don't have enough money. to appreciate this.
So, what do you think about that? They want to put rich people into space. They want to.
I think I should be a rich person. That's the only thing I have to say about that.
No, near Earth orbits are not glamorous. Let's send tourism all the way up to Mars and then we'll talk.
They'll be back soon. That's fine.
Are they going to put it to Booking.com or Airbnb, for example? I need to check out this thing.
Space B&B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the origin of most problems, how NASA, although is far away from the trade bubble, is still closer than other institutions because they rely on funding and they rely on such shit. They need money, so they have to put rich people into space. I think it costs around 50 million or something like that to go to space for a few days.
Okay.
For me, it's such a dystopian future. If someone will tell you, like, you know what, people will go to space and they will put like a space station there and orbit the Earth, you'll be like, wow, amazing, human discovery, human progress. But no, you know what? In the future, only rich fucks can go there. You, all of the poor people.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Don't be so sure of that. Don't be so sure of that, because where rich people go, they need poor people to do their shit for them. So you might just get lucky.
No, reach the height.
But it just shows such insane inequality in this world, to have somebody pay, I don't know, how many million?
50 or something, I don't know.
50 million to go to space while there's millions of people that still die of starvation, malnutrition, and lack of clean water.
It's a very dangerous way of managing such things like a space station, because it's something that pretty much no one has access to. So it should be something for humanity, okay? You shouldn't do it like, let's at least, I don't make a lottery and be like, hey, a random human being can go there.
Yeah, we're going to send you.
Yeah, don't do this fucking shit, For me, this is cruel for humans. I wouldn't even if I would be NASA, I would be ashamed to say, you know what? Rich people can come to this space station to see the Earth from above, this unique human experience that no one will get unless you have $50 million. For me, this is awful. This is violence. But because only they have access.
Yeah, but somebody is going to need to iron their clothes, shovel their poop up there, and I do one of those two.
Yeah. They say that it's a great suntan on the orbit of Earth. You can have with radiance and so on. So probably
I don't need suntan.
Yeah.
I'll probably shine from the orbit like that.
Yeah, so this is for me, this is a very sad news, but it's not surprising. NASA was doing this for many years anyways, a bunch of rich people went to the space station. And people who argue that, yes, they would put money into NASA's budget, yet, but it also fucked up. Like, is this the way to put money into NASA's budget? If that's the way, then you'll fuck things up. What's next?
Yeah, they're almost celebrating it, like, oh yeah, they talked to financiers and all this, and they're gonna make new technology for this and da da da. Like, oh, this is a great thing.
Before you know it, they'll have ads on the International Space Station.
They will sell them like the space.
Yeah.
They will sell them.
Exactly.
It sounds ridiculous now, but I'm not sure it's that ridiculous anymore.
And I think most people probably look at this news and they're like, oh yeah, it's progress. Now, pretty soon humans will be able to go to space for tourism.
Yeah, they have this fucked up polluted mind that they think that, oh, space tourism, maybe I will go to space. Shut the fuck up. No one will go to space. Poor guy who makes like 1,000 euros a month, he's dreaming for space. Shut up.
No, but here, with capitalism, you can work and you can get to the top. You can reach the top and make lots of money.
Maybe if I work on it.
Become a millionaire is your incentive.
there are no limits. No, people used to say the sky is the limit. No, the sky is not the limit anymore.
What if they provide a loan for you and they'll be like, okay, we pay for your trip, but you have to pay it back in the next 30 years. That could be also a business.
Yeah, have you guys watched this thing called The Expanse, the show, or have you read the books? It's an interesting take because what happens to humanity is that it gets split into three factions. Humans on Earth, they're the center of a crumbling sort of human alliance sort of deal. It's interesting because they have a version of this universal basic income going on. It's called Basic. So one faction goes to space, and in that they split into two. One goes to Mars, and Mars separates as its own empire. And then you have these people who go to the asteroids who have to mine. You know, they work for mining corporations, and they become this entire own culture on their own. It's super cool. It is super cool because they've gone to the trouble to come up with the language that the belters, they call it, the asteroid belters. It's super fun, but I don't understand. Every time you envision something good for humanity like this, something path-breaking, why does it have to be so fucking depressing? Like, why does everybody have to fight? Every time shit goes bad, you know? If it's not people fucking over each other, it's some spooky alien molecule mushroom thing. Like, why can't you go to space and then some nice aliens find you and then they wipe out your need for trade and everything becomes good?
The movie wouldn't be exciting enough, you know, or the novel.
Another thing that's quite fascinating about these such things, scenarios like dystopian futures, like they invent this evil thing, like, oh, it's a bacteria, it's an alien, it's a this or that. No. The evil thing is putting people to work all of their lives, but people don't get scared of this. They don't think that it's an evil thing. This is scary. If they say all of your life you have to work 8 hours a day, to me that's scarier than an alien that you can fight. Maybe you can win the fight, but here you cannot win the fight. Like I told you in a different TROM-Cast, I think today fathers go from Romania to Spain to work their asses off to make a buck. In the future, in 100 years, they will go to the asteroid to work in the same way. So space will be just a working place, you know? And they will come home and you'll be like, oh, how is it on that asteroid in this new world? And he will be like, you know, it's just fucking work, and I so.
It's a rock. It's a rock that floats out there, and you have to dig.
Yeah,
it's super cool. All of these belters, because they work in the low G environment, they get taller, you know, because of the vertebrae stretching and all of that. You have the capacity to imagine that thing and extra languages. Why can't you imagine good shit happening to us instead of bad shit?
It's great. It's always capitalism or something like that in this space. It's
why can't we get lucky and something great happens? Depressing.
No one understands what's the problem. That's what I was trying to say. They think that that's why they project like an alien or a disease or something is attacking us. That's a problem, and so forth. Or humans are evil because of genes. They don't understand this trait-based system. That's why no one sees it as a problem. No, as an infection. That's why. Okay.
War to Free Science.
The War to Free Science. Yeah, it was a great article. I liked it. Did you guys read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't the guy who invented Reddit, wasn't he killed for that?
Aaron Schwartz?
Because he tried to do that? Yeah, Aaron Schwartz?
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't killed. He killed himself.
He killed himself, but because the pressure was put on him because of the papers he was trying to release.
Yeah, I would say that counts as that's murder in my books. If you force a human being into that to take that decision, that is murder.
So the article is about how the science gets behind paywalls and it's less and less accessible, even to scientists. You know, imagine they give an example. It's like people pay from their taxes. They pay for a road. The road gets built, you know. But now some companies come there and say, okay, if you want to use this road, you have to pay us more money. And you're like, but I fucking paid, you know, already from the taxes from the entire road. This is what happens to science. Science that is made by governmental funding. You know, they make the science, and then publishers, like there are some big publishers out there, like 2 or 3 publishers, they take those papers, put them behind a paywall, and then ask even like universities. Universities have to pay millions to have for their students and so forth to have access to the research that they did. Imagine this research that they did. Now they have to pay to access it, and that's is what's happening because that's the incentive here. And the article is about that, and it's a very article showing you how 2 or 3 companies own pretty much all of the good science out there. You know, it's a very sad article. But in the end, I came across this. It's very interesting. It's called. I think I gave you the link. Cody is called.
Unpaywall.
Yeah, unpaywall.
And I installed the extension. It's an extension. You install it on your browser, and every time you visit a website where it has like a science paper that is behind a paywall, you will get like a lock, and you click the lock, and it unlocks it, and it finds this article in full in for free, like trade free. It's great because I tested it. I use it for Chrome books when I research for the books, and I always struggle to fucking find the research itself if I have to. So this is a great extension. At least it's a way to battle these motherfuckers.
Yeah. So where is that lock thing? You click on. Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
It's a little green thing. Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's also a website called Sci-Hub. It's a girl from I think Russia. This girl made this website where it is full, like hundreds of thousands, not millions of pirated. That's what they call them, pirated scientific papers. And everybody's after this girl, and they want her to put her in jail. And I think they fined her like $100 million or so for doing this. So it's imagine this, the science that should make us progress as a species is locked behind paywalls, and people think that it's okay. It's just business. This is infuriating. Yeah. So
Stay safe, girl. Stay safe.
Yeah.
We need you.
For how long?
We need you.
Yeah. So this extension is great. I recommend this extension because Sci-Hub sometimes is not accessible, but this extension, as far as I've tested it, is so great. You can find the full papers, PDF format.
It's true. It works. It's amazing. Approved.
Yeah. Amazing. Maybe I will install it as default from Java because we customize stuff in Java, so everything is ready for you to use it. So maybe I'll add from Java. That's interesting. You have one more news?
Yep. Sleeping with the light on or TV linked to weight gain in women.
That's an interesting one. So if you sleep with your TV on, you will get fatter. Imagine this. But is this true or not? It's not true. This news is so nice because it showcases how you can make so many correlations that have nothing to do with each other. Like if you analyze a bunch of women that you ask them, you sleep at night? Yes. You leave the TV on? Yes. And you get fatter, I see, in time. Maybe the light from the TV makes you fat.
But why does it work only for women? Will it work for... I want more weight.
You gotta wait for the science. You gotta wait for the science.
It's so dumb to make this kind of research. Or to me, maybe it's not dumb. Maybe there's something there. But this article showcases it how correlations, are just correlations. You can make so many correlations. You could say that those girls they sleep like with TV on because maybe they eat a lot and they just forgot to turn off the TV, or they are maybe too lazy. They don't do a lot of sports, or who knows what the fuck. But how can you link the light? You can make so many links. Like, should you ask people like what color is your room painting? Like, it's a white room. It's a
that makes you fat.
Makes you
It's like that white. It's like that white car and black car problem. People say that black cars consume more fuel than white cars. People say like, why? Because there are simply more black cars, and put together they consume more fuel than white cars. Unfortunately. You know what they're calling this artificial light at night? They made an acronym, ALAN. Basically, ALAN is making women fatter at night.
Yeah.
What is Alan doing with women? He's giving them cake.
I always learn from such articles. It's not only about health, but I learn about correlations and causations. So I recommend you read such articles just for the sake of understanding here how research is done in this world and how you have to interpret it. Because so many news agencies, they take this title and they will be like, light makes you fat. You know, and people are like, oh my God, you know, light
Yeah.
makes you fat. Let's maybe not even read the article. If it's research, let's turn off. Yes, Cody, turn off the light.
I don't like it. Stop shaming
Get Alan out of the room.
me. Alan.
Scared you're not a
That's
woman,
why-
right?
That's why this like pay
Unpaywall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, are you still there? What happened?
I don't know what happened.
I just got disconnected.
Yeah,
Really?
it just was
Oh,
like.
thank you. Okay.
Oh, 2 hours.
2 hours, it's disconnected automatically or something.
Ah.
We are close to finish to the end of the cast, guys. What?
Oh,
What about what?
Oh, no, I was just saying that with the other article about the paywall, like, of course, it's like crazy bad news, but I feel like there are already so many barriers for people to understand the studies that are being made. So, of course, it's getting worse, but I think it's also like really important to understand that it's already kind of shitty.
Oh god. I don't know what's happening. All right, this is different. Oh.
What in the world happened? Hey! I think all of the mics are muted or something like that by
Yeah,
default.
It just was dropped off.
Everybody was, I think.
All right. Maybe we can end this real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Do it before it crashes again.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if maybe it will crash again. But anyway.
Well, yeah. Just let's do it. Let's get
Yeah.
out of here.
So Sophie, last words.
Quick before it
No, I
disconnects.
was just saying that I'm enjoying those medical podcasts that are being recommended on Trump's site.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, because they go into like how like medical information gets contaminated, like the whole chain. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're brilliant, actually. The body of evidence
Yeah.
and the health news review. But the body of evidence is really fantastic.
Yeah, I like that.
The three from Canada, I think. It's one is the doctor and one is a
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other guy is like a journalist, like medical journalist or something.
Health News Review, another one.
It's helping getting a much better understanding of science and in the medical field and everything.
Yeah.
And science in general, you know, it's an example with health, but science in general. I'm so happy you like those because very few people get into such podcasts, and I'm like, come on, guys, they're great.
It's great. It's awesome. It's also these like clickbait like pitfalls, you know, like it's so great that they take those things and they're like, all right, so what studies was this actually based upon? So can you actually draw these conclusions? And most of the time, it's like people like actually they don't know anything from the study. Like, they can't conclude anything.
Exactly.
But the funding was in a certain way, and maybe the scientists involved have been funded in a certain way. So that's first contamination, and then when they have
what's it called, when they share this new knowledge or whatever, all the different papers and everything, they just take it completely out of proportion, you know. So yeah, very interesting.
Oh, I love it that you love it. Yeah. Now we can be friends. Finally. Okay, then we can. I think we are still streaming, right?
Yep,
Because
yep,
we can
yep.
we can end it now and just like we can, a conclusion for everybody. Like I would say, when it comes to planned obsolescence, I would say it's an integral part of this society, and I think it's not going to change anytime soon because it's incentivized by this system. So there is nothing we can do unless we change the incentive. And here the incentive is trade, so people will like engage in planned obsolescence or perceive obsolescence all the time, and I understand them, and I think they are doing the right thing in this fucked up society.
Now we lose
Right.
we lose a lot of efficiency, not only in parallel development of like the same technologies, but benefiting from each other's technology, not having to reinvent the wheel every time. So we lose out on just that massive elliptical curve scaling with, you know, working together versus 10 people pitted against each other.
Hence, innovation doesn't only derive from competition and trade.
Hate the game, don't hate the players.
Yeah, this will really only work in a really in a sick system. Really, I mean, to design products specifically to make them break down earlier than you otherwise would. I mean, it's just insane.
So what would you
Yeah, I have nothing more to add.
Anyone else?
Anyone?
Wants to say anything before we die?
Yeah, before planned obsolescence
What happened
kicks in
then?
and
Yeah.
Jitsi stops. I don't know.
Okay, then next week. Now that we brought we're bringing the TROM-Cast back again. We make TROM-Cast every week. So next week, new topic, and whoever wants to participate and so forth. Lots of people. I love that. I love to see.
We had more people on here than people watching the TROM-Cast.
But I think that's positive, you know.
Yep, that is definitely positive.
More people involved than people just watching, maybe.
Yeah.
But we also are on Facebook, right, Cody? And I think there people usually watch
Yeah, a
more
lot
on
of people will watch on Facebook, but we're gonna have to work out something with that stream because it just will not let me even touch whatever. So we'll work that out hopefully for next week.
But what?
No, I can't connect since.
It didn't work.
No, not at all. And I tried changing the key, backup key, nothing was going through. So
That's okay. We post all of the TROM-Casts on TROM site as well.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to watch them.
Yep,
Okay
yep.
then. Okay then. We can close this TROM-Cast. Great TROM-Cast.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.